James Harden, Paul George. In the 2019 season, both these names shocked the NBA world with unimaginable performances, highlights, and numbers. Both players had MVP-type seasons, and both were the established leaders of their teams. However, while both teams failed to eclipse their high expectations in the playoffs, there is no doubt that both players succeeded in establishing themselves as two of some of the top players in the league. Both players are great individually, yet they have such different play styles, attributes, and also different unique traits that define them both. And it got me wondering, who is the better player between the two? That is the question I answer in this video. Now, James Harden is an utterly unstoppable scorer in the NBA. He has multiple moves and is built almost like an NFL running back who can punish you inside or out, seemingly at will. While people question his defensive abilities and certainly his effort on that end, he has shown the ability to play solid defense at the NBA level when he does put in effort. He has led his Rockets to 7 consecutive playoff appearances as the clear and established leader of the team, and it doesn't look like that playoff streak will be broken anytime soon. Simply put, he is one of the most phenomenal scorers in league history. Now in the other corner, we have Paul George, who just left for the bright lights and sunshine of LA, as he told us he was planning to do all along. But concerning him on the court, as far as 3-and-D players go, he is one of the best in the business. He can score from anywhere in any fashion, one-on-one or catch and shoot, drive and slash or dunk, post up. It quite frankly doesn't matter. He will punish you. He is also a lockdown defender on the defensive side of the ball and can use his 6'9" length with long arms to defend almost anyone with ease. He is quite simply the perfect two-way complementary superstar in the NBA. Just as in the Kawhi-KD comparison, I'm keeping the same 10 categories to rank both these players, and just as the last one, and as always, I will keep my bias completely out of ranking these two players, but with all that out of the way, let's get right into it. The first category is scoring, and I will first start off with James Harden. Okay guys, you look at the stats, you look at the skill, the ability, the talent. It doesn't matter what way you slice it. James Harden is one of the top scorers of all time. Undoubtedly. He can shoot the three with, yes, sometimes questionable footwork that may not be legal, but regardless, he is a top 3 ball handler in the NBA today that he can use to break ankles, get into the lane, or step back for threes. Now, JH requires so much attention on the offensive end, it's not even funny. The opposing team always without failure puts their best available defender on him at all times. In this past 2019 season with Houston, he put up a monster 36 points per game with a career average of 24 a game. That is incredible, scoring that many points on a nightly basis, and he even had a streak of scoring 30 points 30 plus games in a row this past season. Looking at his career as a whole, he was the third option scorer in OKC, but he has always been the first option in Houston. He can slash to the rim, draw fouls, and just simply put the basketball in the hole when it matters most and at any time he wants. This man is undeniably an unreal scorer, so I'm giving James Harden a well-deserved 10 in this category. Now on to Paul George. In this past 2019 season with OKC, he averaged a phenomenal 28 points per game with a career average of 20 points per game. To see how incredible that scoring output was this last year for PG, you have to take into consideration he played alongside Russell Westbrook, a ball-dominant point guard with a very high usage rate, which makes it all the more impressive how many points he scored this past season. He has been the first option scorer on both teams he's played on, being OKC and Indiana, but nonetheless he can score the ball very well. He can shoot threes, pull up off the dribble or drive, and also finish well. He can use his 6'9" length to shoot over smaller defenders, but he also has the first step in quickness to drive around and even the strength to finish in traffic. He is an amazing scorer, but simply not as great as James Harden is concerning scoring, but 28 points per game last season is still great in and of itself. I'm giving PG a 9 in scoring, everything considered. The second category is defense, and I will again start with James Harden. Now JH gets railed on for not putting in enough effort on the defensive side of the ball, and or for just not being good at defense, whether it be his awareness on that end or ability to just simply not defend well enough. Despite these claims, however, even though he doesn't always put in the effort, there is certainly evidence that when he does put in effort, he can defend at the NBA level. Not outstandingly, but enough to interrupt shots, deflect passes, etc. Last year, JH put up a surprisingly impressive 2 steals and 0.7 blocks in the 2019 season with Houston. For his career, he has averaged 1.5 steals and 0.5 blocks. Now, despite the claims of him not being a great defender, and whether or not he does gamble defensively to get steals, 2 steals and 0.7 blocks this past year is not an indication he is a poor defender by any standard. And also with JH, we have to realize how much effort he puts in on the offensive end, having to score so much and having to carry such a heavy load on the offensive side of the ball. That can leave him tired and even exhausted on the other end, and just like of what we saw with LeBron last year on the Lakers, the same can be said with James Harden here, and essentially his whole career once he joined Houston. All things taken into account, I'm giving James Harden a 6 on defense because he has the ability to defend, but he simply does not put in the effort. Now on to Paul George. Looking at PG defensively, we can safely say that he is one of the most versatile and best defenders in the league. Similar to Kevin Durant and Giannis, PG has a height of 6'9 or 6'10 with a fairly long 6'11 wingspan, so he can defend guards on the perimeter with ease or even guard the rim on occasion. He can defend inside and out, which makes him a very effective and elite defender. In 2019 with OKC, he averaged an impressive 2.2 steals last year, but only 0.4 blocks a night. His career average is 1.8 steals and also 0.4 blocks. Now, I am honestly blown away that PG has less blocks per game than James Harden of all people, but PG can still be used as a rim protector at times. The reason he most likely has less blocks per game than he could is because he guards the LeBrons, the Currys, and the KDs of the world, which does not allow him to get as many blocks as he could, being that he guards them mostly on the perimeter. That being said, he is still phenomenal at guarding one-on-one with his length, agility, and quickness, and 2.2 steals a night is evidence of why. Regardless of him having less blocks a night than JH, we all know he is easily a much better defender, also considering he always guards the other team's best player, whereas James Harden almost never does that. PG also puts much more effort on the defensive end as well, but everything said, I'm giving PG a 9 for defense. The third category is rebounding, and starting with James Harden once again. Last year with Houston, James Harden averaged 6.6 boards per game. Being that he is a guard, that is borderline elite for his position. He has a career average of 5.2 rebounds per game, but he's had 2 seasons averaging 6 or more boards per game and 1 of 8 per game. It is odd looking at his stat line though, because one year he may average many rebounds per game, and the next average a lot less. It goes up and down repeatedly and is pretty random, but the numbers do indicate as a whole that he is an above average rebounder for his position, despite the inconsistency. With everything considered, I'm giving James Harden a 6 for rebounding. Now to PG. Paul George has proven to be an above-average rebounder for his position. This past season with OKC, he averaged an impressive 8.2 boards a night, with his career average being 6.4. Now, similar to James Harden though, PG seems to also be inconsistent with his rebounding. Excluding his injury season of 2015, he jumps all over the map, anywhere from almost 4 to 8 rebounds per game. That is pretty inconsistent, but 8 rebounds a night this past year is still 8, and that is tremendous for his position. He's had 2 seasons averaging 7 or more boards per game, and 1 over 8 per game, which was, of course, this last season. All in all, I'm giving Paul George a 7 in rebounding.